In recent years, ERP vendors are doing very well. They have an open market that they're selling new products to. They're developing exciting new technologies, and there's a lot of potential upside for them here in the next few years. So in other words, they're partying like it's 1999, to quote the old song from Prince. And today I'm going to talk about why the ERP vendors are partying like it's 1999. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients through their digital transformation journeys. And as I mentioned in the opening, there's a lot going on in the industry right now. In the 20 years that I've been in this space, this is the most disruptive that technology has been and the most change that we've seen in the ERP industry. Not just in terms of technology and the cool new stuff that software vendors are developing, but also in the makeup and the composition of market share and the number of options available, and just the overall customer disruption that's happening right now as customers themselves try to figure out how are they going to move from these old on-premise systems to these newer cloud solutions. And so what I want to talk about here today is what is it that's driving the software vendors, what does it mean to you, and how can you operate your project in a way and make decisions in a way that focuses on your needs, not necessarily the biases of the software vendors. So to start, it helps to look back in history and look at what's happened over the last couple decades in the ERP software industry. So back in Y2K, companies were in a state of panic because they were worried that they needed to change their old technology and software that had been written in an old code that only accounted for a 6-digit month, day, and year. And in other words, if it was January 1st, 1999, the digits would be 010199. And what they're worried about is that when it switched over to 2000, that there would be disruption to systems and the world would come to an end and everything would be in bad shape. So the ERP vendors did a nice job of encouraging companies to upgrade to new systems to avoid the catastrophe that was bound to happen when Y2K happened. By the way, Y2K happened, and I don't remember a single instance of any material memory that may have been disruptive. So in hindsight, one wonders, did they really need to go through all that turmoil and all that challenge in the day? But at the time, vendors were having a field day because they had just an unlimited customer base in a lot of ways. Customers that were lining up to switch over their old legacy system to a new Y2K compliant type of system. So during that time, companies made a lot of money. The ERP vendors made a lot of money. Companies spent a lot of money on their ERP implementations. Consultants like me that were just coming out of school had great opportunities to be staffed on these projects. And the vendors and the ecosystem that supported the software vendors did particularly well. And today in 2020 feels a lot like Y2K, but for different reasons. And I'll talk about what I mean by that. So leading the charge in this whole movement to rush everyone to the cloud and make sure that everyone upgrades their old outdated on-premise systems is SAP. And SAP is one of the few vendors that I know of that has forced a mandate to customers that they need to upgrade to HANA by 2025. And 2025 is somewhat of an arbitrary number, and that's the date that they've said they'll stop supporting the old legacy systems. And in my opinion, many of the software vendors like SAP are largely manufacturing a new version of Y2K. Rather than waiting 1,000 years for the next millennial turnover, they're deciding that now's a good time to push everyone to the cloud and to ensure that they can generate revenue and new software sales from their upgrades. Now, cloud in and of itself is not a bad thing. I don't disagree with the movement to the cloud. I think ultimately most organizations, if not all, will at some point be on cloud-based solutions. We're not quite there yet, but we're still making the transition. But my problem with the industry and what's happening right now is that it's not necessarily in customers' best interest to make that transition now, but a lot of vendors are stiff-arming or forcing customers to make the change. And even for customers that are already on one of the legacy products, and maybe they don't necessarily have to change, maybe they're not on SAP and they don't need to go upgrade by 2025, maybe they're on Microsoft or Oracle or one of the vendors that, as far as I know, has not mandated that legacy customers switch over, The bigger problem is with customers now that know they need new ERP system, they want to make a change, but they're being forced to go to the cloud because it's very difficult now to find on-premise solutions for a lot of the software vendors. So for example, if you were to go to Microsoft and ask for Microsoft AX, not D365, but AX, that's going to be difficult to find. Or if you go to Oracle and say, I want eBusiness Suite or JD Edwards, they're going to push you pretty aggressively to Oracle ERP Cloud. Obviously, SAP is going to push you to S4HANA instead of ECC or R3 or any of the legacy products. So they're just a few examples of how newer customers that are now looking for new software are being prematurely forced to the cloud, which is a problem. So the problem with the movement that's happening right now is that a lot of these cloud solutions are simply not ready for prime time. They don't have the level of maturity and sophistication that the legacy products had. Now, you wouldn't necessarily expect any new solution coming out to have the same maturity and functionality and sophistication of an old legacy system that's been around for 10 or 15 or 20 years, but you would expect a minimum level of functionality and capability. And what we're seeing in a lot of cases, even with some of the bigger ERP vendors, is that these flagship products that are being rolled out are very patchy at best or very spotty at best. They don't have complete functionality. There's a lot of instances where you're buying a cloud solution for the base financials, inventory management, but once you get outside that core, you're having to use on-premise solutions, some of the legacy on-premise solutions that now you've got to integrate, now you've got to maintain these different platforms. And so it's becoming very complex, and in many cases, companies are finding that they go to buy the software and the new cloud solutions can't handle the most basic of functionality. Now, the exception here is if you look at a NetSuite or a Workday or Salesforce, some of those software vendors that have always been cloud and SaaS-based solutions, they've got a leg up and a head start on most of the ERP vendors because they've already developed their products and spent decades building out those products in the cloud. So those products are a lot more mature and have a lot more advanced sophistication. And that's part of why if you look at our top 10 ERP systems for 2020, which you can download via the links below, so many of those vendors, the legacy cloud solutions and SaaS solutions did so well in our 2020 rankings. It's because of the maturity and the functionality that they have. So that's just something to be aware of. When you buy a lot of these cloud solutions, you're not getting what you would have gotten as far as functionality and capability and sophistication as you might have had with some of the legacy products. So the question becomes, what do we do about it? This is the landscape, this is what we have to deal with. There's some pitfalls out there, there's some landmines. How do we get past that? Now, what I'm not suggesting is that you avoid doing anything. For a lot of organizations, that's not an option. It's not probably a good strategic long-term decision to just do nothing, but there's a few things you can do that I do recommend. One is to go in with your eyes wide open and fully understand the risks of what you're about to do. And that's okay. Every decision you make as part of any business decision or digital transformation has its risks. And what I'm suggesting is just understand that when you buy these cloud solutions or SaaS offerings from a lot of the clients, just make sure you understand that they're not going to be complete. There's going to be gaps. They're not going to be perfect. And we need to make sure we understand that. Second of all is understand that you don't have to do everything now. Even though ERP vendors and their system integrators are going to push you to move to the cloud now or to buy more modules and more licenses than maybe you need or that you're comfortable with, just take a step back and recognize this is your business. You do what you want with your business. If you want to upgrade to the cloud, upgrade to the cloud, and if you don't, then don't. Don't let a vendor force you or pressure you into decisions that are going to be very disruptive to your business and cause failure, which we see so many of in the industry. And in fact, speaking of failure, we're seeing an increase in failures largely because some of these products are so immature and incomplete that we're having to go remediate a lot of these implementations for clients. So just be focused on your business and don't let a vendor or a system integrator steamroll you into making a decision that's good for them but not necessarily good for you. And that's also where our team at Third Stage can help as well. If you'd like unbiased advice on how to navigate this landscape, we're happy to help. So I hope you found this information useful. I've included a number of helpful links that will help you in your journey and your decision-making process below. I encourage you to please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and provide any comments you have. If you've had any particular experiences with some of these cloud solutions, or if you're struggling with how to make the transition, or perhaps you've made the transition very well and you think I'm overstating the risk, I'd love to hear it from you. So please provide any comments you have below, and I look forward to chatting with you next time. Take care.